My name is Elise Warner, and when my ex said, "This business was always my idea," I just smiled. The documents I was holding said otherwise. He thought he could steal my startup idea and leave me in the dust. But a year later, I was the one signing the papers to buy his company. It all started in Portland, Oregon, at a rooftop party overlooking the Willamette River, the city lights flickering like stars against the night sky. I was 28, fresh off a breakup with my ex, Caleb Holt, and trying to rebuild my life. We'd been together for 3 years, working side by side on a dream that was mine long before I met him. A mobile app to connect local artisans with eco-conscious buyers. I called it Greencraft, a platform to help small businesses sell sustainable handmade goods. I'd spent countless nights sketching wireframes, researching markets, and pitching to friends for feedback. Caleb? He was good at charm, not much else. He'd nod along, make vague suggestions, and call it our idea. The breakup was messy. Caleb moved out of our shared apartment, leaving me with rent I couldn't afford and a half-finished prototype. A month later, I heard through a mutual friend that he'd pitched Greencraft to a group of investors, claiming it was his brainchild. I confronted him at a coffee shop in Portland's Pearl District, the air thick with the smell of espresso and rain. "Caleb, that's my idea," I said, my voice shaking. He leaned back, smirking. "Ideas don't belong to anyone, Elise. I'm just the one making it happen." I clenched my fists under the table. "You're stealing my work." He laughed, tossing a napkin on the table. "Prove it." I couldn't, not then. My early notes were on a shared laptop he'd taken, and our Slack chats were on his account. I'd been naive, trusting him with my vision without protecting it. But I wasn't giving up. I had backups of my wireframes, emails I'd sent to early testers, and a notebook full of plans I'd scribbled before we even met. Those documents were my lifeline, and I wasn't letting Caleb rewrite my story. I moved into a cheaper studio apartment, barely 400 square feet, and got to work. I taught myself coding basics from YouTube tutorials, burning through coffee and late nights. My savings were dwindling, $3,000 left after rent and bills. But I wasn't stopping. I rebuilt Greencraft from scratch, tweaking the design to be sleeker, faster, more user-friendly. By month 3, I had a working prototype and a small beta test with 5 local artisans: a potter, a weaver, and 3 jewelers. They loved it, listing their goods and making sales within days. I knew I was onto something. Then I saw Caleb's post on LinkedIn. Excited to announce Holtcraft, the future of sustainable e-commerce. My stomach dropped. Holtcraft was a carbon copy of Greencraft. Same concept, same market, even a similar logo. He'd raised $500,000 from a venture capital firm, Rainier Ventures, and was hiring a team. My friends texted me outraged. "He stole your idea." My parents, who'd never understood my startup dreams, called to say, "Maybe it's time to move on, Elise." I didn't. Caleb might have money and charm, but I had grit and proof. I needed help, and I found it in an unexpected place. My old college roommate, Maya Chin, was now a lawyer specializing in intellectual property. I met her at a diner, my notebook and USB drive of backups spread across the table. "Maya," I said, "Caleb's claiming my idea. Can I stop him?" She flipped through my notes. Dated wireframes, emails from 2 years ago, even a pitch I'd sent to a local incubator before Caleb was involved. "You've got a case," she said, her eyes sharp. "These prove you developed Greencraft first. But lawsuits are slow. What do you really want?" I leaned forward. "I want to beat him. I want his company." Maya laughed, then saw I was serious. "Okay, Elise. Let's protect your IP first, then build your business faster than his." She helped me file a provisional patent for Greencraft's unique algorithm, a feature that matched artisans with buyers based on sustainability preferences. It wasn't airtight, but it gave me leverage. Meanwhile, I pitched to every small investor I could find: coffee shop meetups, Zoom calls, even a pitch competition at a Portland tech meetup. I won $10,000 at that competition, enough to hire a freelance developer, Liam, who cleaned up my code and added payment integration. By month 6, Greencraft was live with 20 artisans and 500 active users. Sales were modest but growing, $5,000 a month, enough to cover my rent and Liam's fees. I worked from my apartment, my desk wedged between a futon and a mini fridge, posting on Instagram and Etsy forums to attract users. Portland's artisan community spread the word, calling Greencraft the app that actually cares about makers. But Caleb was moving faster. Holtcraft had a slick website, a downtown office, and a team of 10. He was landing bigger clients, including a chain of eco-friendly stores, Pacific Green. I felt the gap widening, but I wasn't out yet. Then came a break. At a local startup event, I met Priya Anand, a partner at Cascade Seed Fund, a small VC firm focused on women-led startups. I pitched Greencraft, emphasizing its community focus and my proof of ownership. Priya was blunt. Your app's good, Elise, but Holtcraft's ahead. Why should I bet on you? I slid my notebook across the table. Bez, I created this idea 2 years ago. Caleb stole it, but I'm building it better. And I've got the documents to prove it. She raised an eyebrow, flipping through my notes. You're not just fighting for a business. You're fighting for yourself. I nodded. Exactly. Priya offered $200,000 in seed funding, contingent on doubling our user base in 3 months. I agreed, knowing it was a long shot. Liam and I worked 16-hour days onboarding artisans and tweaking the app's algorithm. Maya sent a cease and desist letter to Holtcraft, citing my provisional patent. Caleb's lawyer brushed it off, but I heard through a friend that he was rattled. Good. I wanted him to sweat. By month 9, Greencraft had 2,000 users and $20,000 in monthly revenue. We were still smaller than Holtcraft, but our users were loyal and our reviews were better. I started hearing whispers. Caleb's team was struggling with bugs and Pacific Green was unhappy with their service. I saw my chance. If I could scale Greencraft faster, I could outmaneuver Holtcraft and make a play for their clients. Or their entire company. I called Maya and Priya for a strategy session. Caleb's vulnerable, I said, pacing my tiny apartment. If we can land a major client and more funding, we could buy him out. Maya grinned. You're ruthless, Elise. Priya nodded. It's possible, but you need a bigger war chest. I can connect you with a larger VC firm, but you'll need to show you can take Holtcraft's market share. I agreed. The documents in my hand, proof that Greencraft was mine, were my edge. Caleb thought he'd stolen my idea. He was about to learn what happens when you underestimate someone like me. Hey, Revenge Tempest fans. Can you feel Elise's fire? She's got proof and a plan to take down her ex. Want to see how she pulls it off? Hit that subscribe button and join our crew. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. 9 months after my ex, Caleb Holt, tried to steal my startup idea in Portland, Oregon, I was no longer the heartbroken woman he'd left behind. Greencraft, my app for connecting artisans with eco-conscious buyers, was gaining traction. We had 2,000 users, $20,000 in monthly revenue, and a loyal community of Portland makers praising our platform. But Caleb's knockoff, Holtcraft, was still ahead with a bigger team, a downtown office, and a $500,000 investment from Rainier Ventures. He thought he'd won. He was wrong. I had my documents, proof that Greencraft was mine, and a plan to take his company. My lawyer, Maya Chin, had sent a cease and desist letter to Holtcraft, citing my provisional patent on Greencraft's matching algorithm. Caleb's team brushed it off, but I knew it rattled him. I heard through a mutual friend that he'd been bad-mouthing me at industry events, calling me bitter and desperate. Let him talk. I was too busy building. My developer, Liam, had optimized our app, adding features like real-time inventory tracking and a chatbot for customer support. Our users loved it. Artisans were selling out their stock and buyers were raving about the curated selection. But to catch Holtcraft, I needed a big win. That win came in the form of a potential client. Evergreen Collective, a national chain of eco-friendly stores with a flagship in Portland. They'd been working with Holtcraft but were frustrated by buggy updates and poor service. I got a tip from a barista who'd overheard their manager complaining at a coffee shop. I reached out to their CEO Tara Lynn and pitched Greencraft over Zoom. We're smaller than Holtcraft, I admitted, my laptop balanced on my tiny apartment desk, but we're nimbler. Our algorithm matches artisans to buyers with 95% accuracy, and our downtime is 0. Tara leaned forward, intrigued. Send me a demo. If it's as good as you say, we'll talk. The demo was a hit. Evergreen Collective signed a 3-month trial, listing 50 artisans on Greencraft. Their sales spiked 30% in the first month, and Tara called me personally. Elise, we're pulling our contract from Holtcraft. We want you. I punched the air, startling Liam, who was coding across from me. That deal brought $50,000 in revenue and a wave of new users. Greencraft's user base doubled to 4,000, and our monthly revenue hit $40,000. Priya Anand, my investor from Cascade Seed Fund, was thrilled. "You're meeting our growth targets," she said. "I'm connecting you with Horizon Capital. They're big players. Pitch them your expansion plan." Horizon Capital's office in Seattle was a far cry from my cramped studio. I flew up with Maya, my notebook of original Greencraft designs tucked in my bag. The VP, Daniel Kwan, listened as I pitched scaling Greencraft nationwide, targeting eco-conscious markets like Austin and Boulder. "Your numbers are solid," he said, tapping his pen. "But Holtcraft's got more funding. Why should we back you?" I slid my notebook across the table. "Because I created this idea. These are my designs, dated 2 years before Holtcraft existed. Caleb Holt stole it, but I'm outbuilding him." Daniel raised an eyebrow, flipping through the pages. "You've got proof. That's rare in this game. Let's talk terms." Horizon offered $1.5 million, enough to hire a full-time team and expand our server capacity. I brought on a marketing lead, Zoe, and a second developer, Raj, to handle the growth. We rolled out a new feature letting artisans showcase their sustainability practices, which went viral on Instagram. Greencraft was now a name in Portland's startup scene, featured in a local tech blog as the app taking on big players. But Caleb wasn't done. I saw him at a networking event, schmoozing investors with his usual charm. He spotted me and smirked. "Nice little app, Elise. Too bad it's just a copy of mine." I smiled back, my voice calm. "We'll see who's copying who, Caleb." The tide was turning. Holtcraft's bugs were piling up. Users complained about crashes, and Pacific Green, their biggest client, posted a scathing review online. I heard through a friend that Rainier Ventures was pressuring Caleb to fix things or lose their support. I saw my opening, not just to compete but to take everything. I called Maya and Priya for a late-night strategy session in my apartment, the Portland skyline dim through my window. "Holtcraft's vulnerable," I said. "If we can land one more big client and secure more funding, we can make an offer to buy them out." Maya grinned. "You want to own his company? That's next level." Priya nodded. "It's doable, but you need to move fast. Rainier's looking for an exit." I reached out to Pacific Green, Holtcraft's disgruntled client. Their operations manager, Samir Patel, met me at a brewery in Portland's East Side. I pitched Greencraft, showing him our uptime stats and user reviews. "We're not just an app," I said. "We're a community. Your artisans will thrive with us." Samir signed a 6-month contract, pulling $100,000 in business from Holtcraft. That deal pushed Greencraft's revenue to $60,000 a month, and our user base hit 6,000. I was closing the gap. Then came the game changer. Priya connected me with a lawyer at Horizon Capital who specialized in acquisitions. Over coffee, he reviewed my documents, emails, wireframes, and notes proving Greencraft's origins. "You've got a strong case for IP ownership," he said. "If Holtcraft's struggling, you could buy them out at a discount." I leaned forward. "How much?" He crunched numbers. "Their valuation's down to $2 million. With Horizon's backing, you could offer $1.8 million and take their client list, tech, and brand." My heart raced. Buy Holtcraft? The company Caleb built on my stolen idea? It was almost too perfect. I sent the offer through a neutral lawyer, keeping my name off the paperwork. I wanted Caleb to feel the weight of it before he knew it was me. When Rainier Ventures agreed to a meeting, I knew the moment was coming. The moment I'd walk into Caleb's boardroom, documents in hand, and take back what was mine. 11 months after Caleb Holt stole my startup idea in Portland, Oregon, I stood outside the glass-walled boardroom of Holtcraft, my old notebook of Greencraft designs tucked under my arm. The Willamette River sparkled through the windows, but inside the air was tense. Caleb sat at the head of the table, flanked by 2 Rainier Ventures investors and their CFO, Anita Desai. My lawyer, Maya Chen, stood beside me, her briefcase holding the documents that proved Greencraft was mine. Caleb thought he'd built an empire on my idea. Today he'd learn I was taking it back. The meeting started with Anita, her voice clipped. "Ms. Warner, your offer to acquire Holtcraft for $1.8 million is unexpected. Our valuation's higher, but your terms are compelling. Why do you want this company? I set my notebook down, meeting Caleb's eyes. He looked smug, but his hands fidgeted. Because I created the idea behind it, I said. Greencraft was mine 2 years before Holtcraft existed. I have the proof and I'm here to make it right. I opened the notebook, showing dated wireframes, emails, and pitch notes. Maya slid copies to the board. Caleb's face paled. This is nonsense, he sputtered. She's just bitter. Anita raised a hand, silencing him. We've seen your cease and desist letter, Ms. Warner. Your patent claim is strong. But buying us out, that's bold. I nodded. Holtcraft's losing clients. Pacific Green, Evergreen Collective. Your app's buggy, your team's overstretched. Greencraft's outperforming you with half the budget. I can integrate your clients, fix your tech, and turn your losses into profit. The investors exchanged glances. Caleb leaned forward, his voice sharp. You're nobody, Elise. You think you can run my company? I smiled, just like I had at that coffee shop months ago. It was never yours, Caleb. The negotiations were brutal. Caleb fought every point, questioning my numbers, my experience, even my motives. But the investors weren't swayed by his charm anymore. Pacific Green's defection and Holtcraft's plummeting reviews spoke louder than his words. Maya laid out our case. My documents proved I'd developed the core idea, and Greencraft's 6,000 users and $60,000 monthly revenue showed I could deliver. By 3 p.m., Anita called for a vote. 3-1 with Caleb dissenting. Greencraft would acquire Holtcraft, effective in 30 days. I shook Anita's hand, my heart pounding. I'd done it. The company he'd built on my stolen idea was mine. Caleb stormed out, slamming the door. Maya grinned. That felt good, didn't it? I nodded, but the victory wasn't in his defeat. It was in reclaiming what I'd created. The transition was intense. We merged Holtcraft's tech into Greencraft, keeping their best developers but scrapping their buggy code. Liam and Raj led the integration while Zoe ramped up marketing. Evergreen Collective doubled their contract, and Pacific Green signed a year-long deal. Within 2 months, Greencraft's user base hit 10,000, and our revenue climbed to $100,000 a month. We moved into Holtcraft's downtown office, the view of Portland's skyline a reminder of how far I'd come. Then came the moment I hadn't expected. A month after the acquisition, Caleb emailed me. Elise, we need to talk. I made a mistake. I agreed to meet him at a park near the river, my notebook in my bag like a shield. He looked tired, his usual swagger gone. I shouldn't have taken your idea, he said, avoiding my eyes. I thought I could do it better. I crossed my arms. You didn't just take it, Caleb. You lied. You called it yours. He winced. I'm sorry. Can we work something out? I shook my head. I already did. I own Holtcraft now. You're out. He stared, speechless, then walked away. I didn't watch him go. I was done looking back. My parents called a week later, their voices hesitant. Elise, we saw your company in the news, my mom said. You're doing so well. Why didn't you tell us? I almost laughed. I tried when I started Greencraft. You told me to move on. They offered to visit, to support me, but I kept it short. I'm busy building. Maybe later. I'd spent years chasing their approval, but I didn't need it anymore. Greencraft was my proof. A year later, I stood in our new headquarters, a renovated warehouse in Portland's industrial district. Greencraft had 15,000 users, $200,000 in monthly revenue, and plans to expand to Seattle and Denver. Priya Anand and Horizon Capital were pushing for a national rollout, and we'd just signed a partnership with a major eco-retailer. My team, Liam, Raj, Zoe, and 10 new hires, worked like a family, celebrating every milestone. I wasn't the woman Caleb had left behind, or the daughter my parents had doubted. I was the woman who'd taken a stolen idea and built an empire. Success wasn't about proving Caleb wrong, though that felt good. It was about proving myself right. Those documents, my wireframes, my notes, my dream, were my foundation. When Caleb said, "This business was always my idea," I smiled because I knew the truth. And in that boardroom, when I signed the papers to buy his company, I didn't just win. I became unstoppable. Hey, Revenge Tempest fans. Did Elise's epic takeover give you chills? We're all about stories of justice and triumph here, so smash that subscribe button to join our squad. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from.